warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Selamat bergabung dalam acara pembukaan Jogja Festivals Forum Expo 2021 yang diselenggarakan secara virtual di Jogja Expo Center. Acara ini merupakan ruang bersama untuk berkreasi dan bersuara bagi para pelaku festival di Yogyakarta sebagai rumah kita bersama dalam menyelenggarakan berbagai festival bukan hanya dengan taraf nasional tetapi sudah go internasional. Bapak Ibu hadirin, mengawali acara kita siang hari ini, marilah kita bersama-sama menyanyikan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia Raya. Hadirin dimohon berdiri. Hadirin disilakan duduk kembali. Bapak Ibu hadirin, selanjutnya akan disampaikan sambutan dari Ketua Jogja Festivals Bapak Heri Pema.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat dan sejahtera untuk kita semua. Salam budaya. Yang terhormat Menteri Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif Republik Indonesia, Bapak Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno. Yang terhormat Wakil Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, Kanjeng Gusti Pangeran Adipati Aryo Pakualam 10. Dan yang saya hormati, Kanjeng Pangeran Haryo Purwodiningrat selaku penasehat Jogja Festivals. Terima kasih banyak telah berkenan hadir secara virtual di acara Jogja Festivals Forum dan Expo yang ketiga pada tahun ini. Yang juga saya hormati para pembicara dalam simposium pertama hari ini dengan tema Festival Ekosistem and Destination. Selamat datang juga Ibu Moe Chiba sebagai Program Spesialis for Culture UNESCO Indonesia. Ibu Julia Amour sebagai Direktur Festival Edinburgh. Dan juga Mbak Felincia Hutabarat sebagai Ketua Tim Peneliti dari Jogja Festival Studies Center. Kemudian terima kasih banyak kepada rekan-rekan festival serumpun di Asia Tenggara, rekan-rekan festival di Indonesia dan juga Yogyakarta yang juga telah ikut hadir dalam Jogja Festival Forum dan Expo ini. Serta para seluruh hadirin yang telah hadir dalam acara ini, baik yang mewakili institusi, akademisi maupun profesional individu. Terima kasih karena ikut meramaikan dan berpartisipasi dalam diskusi hari ini. Seluruh hasil diskusi hari ini akan menjadi masukan yang cukup penting untuk kelengkapan riset dan juga masa depan festival di Asia Tenggara tentunya. Perkenalkan, saya Heri Bemat sebagai Ketua Jogja Festival yang mewakili rekan-rekan pegiat festival dari Yogyakarta mengucapkan selamat datang di acara Jogja Festival Forum dan Expo tahun 2021. Di tahun penyelenggaraan yang ketiga kali ini, JFFE berlangsung secara hybrid pada 16 sampai 18 November tahun 2021 di Jogja Expo Center dengan beberapa program utama seperti Simposium, talkshow serta FGD yang dalam tiap programnya diisi oleh para ahli tentunya dari dalam dan luar negeri untuk bersama-sama mendiskusikan mengenai isu-isu festival yang terkini. Berbarengan dengan kegiatan forum, festival pop-up Expo yang menjadi sarana pameran keberlangsungan festival di Yogyakarta juga diadakan pada tanggal 17 sampai 30 November di Plaza Ambarukmo, Yogyakarta. Penyelenggaraan JFFE tahun 2021 membawa misi untuk menyediakan kemungkinan kolaborasi sekaligus peluang kerjasama yang dapat terjalin dengan para penyelenggara festival serta lintas pemangku kepentingan festival seperti masyarakat, pemerintah, akademisi, dan bisnis. Banyak dampak yang mampu diberikan atas keberlangsungan festival. Untuk itu sudah selayaknya jika festival mendapatkan perhatian khusus baik dari pemerintah maupun stakeholder atas kontribusinya dalam peningkatan ekonomi melalui sektor kreatif, pariwisata lokal, serta pelestarian budaya. Semoga melalui rangkaian acara Jogja Festival Forum dan Expo tahun 2021 ini, kita dapat memperkuat jalinan ekosistem festival, baik itu di Yogyakarta, Indonesia, atau bahkan lebih luas lagi, Asia Tenggara tentunya. Sekali lagi saya mengucapkan terima kasih banyak atas kehadiran dan dukungan teman-teman yang diberikan, terutama komunitas pekerja event Jogja, juga kepada Ketua JFFE tahun ini Mas Bram, dan teman-teman panitia yang sudah bekerja keras dalam mempersiapkan acara ini. Selamat mengikuti rangkaian acara JFFE tahun 2021. Salam festival. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bapak Ibu hadirin, selanjutnya akan disampaikan sambutan Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta yang akan diwakilkan oleh Wakil Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, Kanjeng Gusti Pangeran Adipati Aryo Pakualam ke-10.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Mohon izin pada kesempatan ini membacakan sambutan Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta. Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, sambutan pembukaan Jogja Festival Forum and Expo 2021. Yogyakarta, 16 November 2021. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam damai sejahtera bagi kita semua. Yang saya hormati para peserta Jogja Festival Forum dan Expo 2021 dan hadirin sekalian. Pandemi COVID-19 membawa dampak signifikan bagi pelaksanaan event dan acara yang melibatkan mobilisasi massa. Pada akhirnya, berbagai festival harus ditunda sekian waktu, menunggu membaiknya situasi. Bagi penyelenggara festival, waktu jeda ini telah menjadi ruang pikir untuk berkreasi, mencari terobosan penyelenggaraan event yang selaras dengan budaya baru dengan menggunakan prasyarat 3M. Dan pada saat ini penyelenggaraan JFFE 2021 menjadi salah satu sarana untuk rembuk bareng para pemangku kepentingan festival dalam mengidentifikasi masalah dan mencari solusi dalam penyelenggaraan festival yang adaptif, tangguh, dan luas dalam berbagai situasi. Hadirin sekalian, saya mewakili pemerintah daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta mengapresiasi dan mendukung pelaksanaan JFFE tahun 2021 ini. Bagaimanapun, festival telah menjadi simpul sosial dan mempresentasikan puncak eksistensi ekonomi kreatif. Festival terbukti mampu memberikan multiplier efek dan kontribusi dalam ragam yang berperspektif. Festival juga telah menjadi ruang ekspresi budaya masyarakat dalam merayakan kebersamaan dengan menyatukan berbagai pihak dalam satu ruang dan waktu. Akhir kata, demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan. Selamat melaksanakan kegiatan. Semoga berjalan lancar sesuai dengan yang sudah direncanakan dan pada akhirnya membawa manfaat dalam inovasi pelaksanaan berbagai festival di era peranatan anyar. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yogyakarta, 16 November 2021, Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, ditandatangani Hamengkubuwono ke-10. Demikian para hadirin telah kami bacakan sambutan Gubernur Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta. Terima kasih atas perhatiannya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jogja Festivals telah hadir di tengah-tengah kita secara virtual untuk mengikuti seluruh rangkaian acara. Untuk itu kami mohon kepada Kanjeng Pangeran Haryo Purwodiningrat untuk menyampaikan sambutan sekaligus membuka acara Jogja Festivals Forum Expo 2021.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Purwodiningrat selaku penasehat Jogja Festival. Pertama-tama mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Kemenparekraf dan juga pemerintah daerah istimewa Yogyakarta yang sudah memberikan dukungan terhadap pelaksanaan JFFE 2021 ini dan juga Jogja Festival sebagai platform festival satu-satunya yang ada di Indonesia. Yang kedua, apresiasi saya kepada JFFE yang dalam kondisi seperti saat ini tetap menyelenggarakan kegiatan forum dan expo sehingga kegiatan ini dapat membantu, mempermudah bagi seluruh stakeholder ekosistem festival yang ada di daerah istimewa Yogyakarta untuk mendesain kegiatannya di tahun 2022. Dan ketiga, apresiasi dan penghargaan sebesar-besarnya kepada festival-festival yang menjadi bagian dari platform Jogja Festival yang telah melangsungkan kegiatannya sepanjang tahun 2021 ini. Ada Akjok, Custom Fest, Prambanan Jazz, Ngayuk Jazz, dan beberapa festival lainnya. Yang meskipun harus mengganti format pelaksanaannya, namun dengan penjenengan tetap menyelenggarakan event di tahun ini, itu memberikan semangat, harapan, dan energi positif kepada seluruh ekosistem festival yang ada di daerah istimewa Yogyakarta, dan bersama-sama kita tetap bisa berkarya melewati masa sulit yang tidak pernah terbayangkan sebelumnya. Dan terakhir, harapan kita bersama bahwasannya JFFE 2021 kali ini dapat berlangsung dengan sukses, lancar, dan secara maksimal mempertemukan seluruh stakeholder yang berkepentingan dan akhirnya menelurkan ide-ide, gagasan, dan konten-konten festival yang semakin bermutu, berkelas, dan mendunia. Semoga di tahun selanjutnya semakin lebih banyak pihak yang melibatkan diri dalam JFFE ini dan dukungan dari Kemenparekraf maupun Pemda Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta yang lebih optimal lagi. Matur nuwun. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dengan ini JFFE 2021 dinyatakan dibuka. Matur nuwun.
Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Kanjeng Pangeran Haryo Purwodiningrat yang telah hadir secara virtual dan membuka acara. Bapak Ibu hadirin, acara Jogja Festival Forum Expo 2021 terselenggara atas kolaborasi dan dukungan dari berbagai pihak. Perkenankan kami untuk mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Dinas Pariwisata Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, Dinas Kebudayaan Kundo Kebudayaan Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, The Ambarukmo Group, pekerja event Jogja, The Gate Coffee and Gold, serta seluruh pihak yang telah memberi dukungan. Demikianlah telah kita ikuti bersama rangkaian acara pembukaan Jogja Festival Forum Expo 2021. Terima kasih atas kebersamaan Anda. Selamat siang. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, all participants of Jogja Festival Forum Expo 2021. You are joining us in Symposium 1, which is going to discuss about festival ecosystem and destination. This forum is aimed to gather insights from the speakers on the importance of an established network among festival organizers and their environments. The insights gathered will be used as a baseline to develop possible future advocacy initiatives in the field of art, culture, and creative economy, especially in the pandemic situation. This symposium would be led by Camelia Harahap as the moderator. Camelia Harahap is head of art and creative industries at British Council Indonesia since 2019. She first joined British Council in 2011, working on creative enterprise programs with a special focus on fashion, design, and music sectors, and recently oversaw the showcasing activities of the UK-Indonesia 2016-18 program, a 3-year season celebrating a new relationship between Indonesia and UK artists and cultural organization, including curating and managing the annual UK and ID Festival. Prior to the British Council, Camelia worked as a writer and journalist at the previous publication in Southeast Asia. She also freelanced as a copywriter and fashion business consultant. Camelia studied communication, international studies, and hold a master's degree in international business from Monash University. And also in 2015, she joined the cohort of the university and Leadership UK. Her main interests includes culture diplomacy, creative enterprise, and sustainable fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Camelia Harahap. The floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Mbak Siwi Lungit, for the very long introduction. So once again, hello. My name is Camelia Harahap, and I am the head of arts and creative industries for British Council in Indonesia. And today I will be moderating for the first symposium on the topic of festivals ecosystem and destination for the Jogja Festivals Forum and Expo 2021. So today, while we talk about the topic of festival ecosystems and destination, we actually have a really fantastic lineup of speakers who will be presenting their insights and experiences within the festival sector. However, unfortunately, as Mr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, the Minister for Tourism and Creative Economy of Republic of Indonesia, is actually not able to join us today, we will start off directly with our first speaker, Mrs. Moe Chiba. Moe is currently the Chief of Culture Unit at UNESCO Jakarta Office for Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, and Timor-Leste since 2018. She then joined UNESCO headquarters in 2000 and began her career in the Division of Creative Industries and subsequently in the Division of Cultural Policies, in charge of developing a new international convention of UNESCO on the diversity of cultural content and artistic expression. After moving to UNESCO New Delhi office for South Asia in 2006, her focus has then shifted to mainstreaming culture into the development process and includes working on heritage-based urban development, culture for rural livelihood, and participation of persons with disabilities in cultural life. Moving back to Jakarta, she continues her passion for culture-based development and coordinates projects such as disaster risk reduction of heritage, promotion of youth entrepreneurs around heritage sites, and cultural landscape management. Moe, it's really great to have you here, and we are very much looking forward to your presentation. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the screen to you. The floor and screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Camelia. Let me begin by a little introduction. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. First of all, congratulations to the organizer for putting together this important platform on the festivals. And thank you for inviting UNESCO to participate in this exciting debate. The festivals are proven to be an important catalyst for social and economic activities throughout history. It generates massive flow of visitors, activating local businesses, featuring local arts and culture, encouraging collaborations, thus giving the residents opportunities to learn and enjoy. Well, experts here at this festival do not need me to explain it. And this is why even today, festivals are organized across the globe, traditional or contemporaries, as an important means of local revitalization.
I think while maybe we wait for your presentation to come up, Moe, perhaps you can kind of share us a little bit about the overview of what you're going to be presenting today.
Yes, well, anyway, I'm not the expert of the festivals or organizing festivals, but what I wanted to highlight in my presentation is about importance of networking and then joint promotion. And I think it's a very important element, whether it is in the domain of festivals or other cultural sectors, whether it's theaters or intangible cultural heritage or heritage tourism. And so actually my presentations, I'm planning to explain what some of the governments are doing using networking and joint promotion as a strategic way of giving a better promotion or the marketing to their cultural elements, especially in the domain of World Heritage Sites and intangible cultural heritage. And this is a particular feature of this UNESCO 2 conventions that not many people are actually aware of, and which I wanted to present to actually inspire the festival organizers to as a possible kind of strategy also.
Yeah, I think that would be really amazing. And I think we just heard back from the organizers. Do you think it might be possible if you can share your PowerPoint from your screen instead?
Yes, I think it may be quicker to do that. Let me just first open my own screen. Okay, so the organizer is still struggling, I imagine.
I think they're still struggling with some technical difficulties in the field. Yes, but I can see your screen.
Okay.
Amazing. All right, back to you.
Okay, but I suspect you. Okay. Yep. Sorry. My challenge is I have to also put the script. So sorry, I apologize. You have to see this sidebar at the same time. But anyway, so as I was saying, festivals indeed is an important cultural elements for the local revitalization, but I think they are further strategies to make it even more efficient. But I'm personally amazed to discover the number of festivals that Yogyakarta has been hosting since 1980s. And there's no wonder why Yogyakarta is often referred to as the cultural capital of Indonesia. Truly amazing, and congratulations. However, since I am from UNESCO and as one of the UN agencies with a mandate to promote sustainable development goals, my mind keeps wondering how to leverage this successful Jogja case for a larger benefit of Indonesia. Because as you know, Indonesia's development is uneven, with human capital and economic wealth largely concentrated in Java. In terms of tourism, Bali is still the main crowd mobilizer. So now I'm aware the government is making an effort to create other centers for attraction to spread the visitors. In a similar token, several towns and districts are organizing or are planning to organize festivals in Indonesia. However, as far as I have observed, most of them seem to enjoy little publicity and have a rather limited success so far. And their challenge is obvious. In the face of so many festivals that are already famous, they actually have very tough competition. So there's no magical solution to this, but one of the keywords, as I was saying, was talking to Camelia, is networking and joint promotion. And this is a topic actually was given by the organizer address today. And as I said, I'm not the expert of the festivals or how to network festivals, but I am going to share with you the example of networking and joint promotion that the different countries do strategically under two of the very popular UNESCO conventions, in the hope that this is going to inspire the festival people. Now, so in terms of two popular conventions, I am talking about the 1972 World Heritage Convention and the 2003 Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention. So as many of you probably already know, World Heritage Convention foresees a system of inscribing heritage sites of outstanding universal value onto the World Heritage List. Well, from Indonesia, Borobudur, Prambanan, or Sanggiran are, for instance, on this World Heritage List. And then Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention, the 2003 convention, has what we call a representative list of intangible cultural heritage, and to promote the understanding of diversity of intangible cultural heritage in the world. From Indonesia, once again, the examples include batik, or ongklong, or Panchaksila recently inscribed, and there are many others that are on a waiting list to be inscribed. Now, actually, both the convention's nomination scheme is for a nationalistic cultural promotion by the government. Therefore, many people actually don't know that both the convention actually has a system for the transboundary multinational nomination, meaning several countries can jointly make a single nomination. And let me share with you some of the examples of those transboundary or multinational joint nominations. And first, let's look into the example of the World Heritage Convention for the heritage sites. So one of the typical type of transboundary nomination concerns the traditional roads, cultural roads. One example of nomination is the Silk Roads, the routes network of Chang'an-Tianshan corridor. This property is a 5,000-kilometer section of the extensive Silk Road networks, stretching from Chang'an, the central capital of China in the Han and Tang dynasty, to the Zenshu region of Central Asia. It took place between 2nd century BC and the 1st century AD, and remained in use until the 16th century, linking many different civilizations. Then under this nomination, there are 33 components from China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan included in this nominations, including capital cities and palace complexes of various empires, kingdoms, trading settlements, Buddhist cave temples, etc. So that is one example of joint nomination, and obviously it is very spectacular, right? Oops. Now, well, the World Heritage nomination does not, for the multinational nomination, does not need to be physically continuous or contiguous. You can also nominate a series of physically scattered elements under a unifying theme, the umbrella theme. So one example here is the nomination called the architectural work of Le Corbusier, an outstanding contribution to the modern movement. So chosen from the work of Le Corbusier, the famous French architect, this one single nomination includes 7 different sites or comprising the and coming from the different countries, Switzerland, Japan, India, Germany, France, and whatnot. Then this same idea of the strategy of nominating the different scattered buildings under unifying theme is also applied in some other nomination that came from Europe. Here it is. This is one nomination that happened this year, 2021. That is called the Great Spa Town of Europe. This transnational property comprises 11 towns located in 7 European countries: Austria, Belgium, Czechs, and France, Germany, and whatnot. All of these towns developed around natural mineral water springs, so they bear witness to the international European spa culture that developed from the early 18th century to the 1930s, leading to the emergence of what we call the grand international resorts. Now, I found this as a very interesting case. Of course, each of these buildings is beautiful. And because of that, actually, some countries actually wanted to nominate one building as a single World Heritage nomination, a standalone nomination. But instead, they decided to come together and present it as a collective, networked, a serial nomination. And so the application came out even more strongly. This is one last example from the World Heritage nominations. This is called Stekji, the medieval tombstone graveyards. This serial property combines 28 different sites located in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Western Serbia, Western Montenegro, and Croatia. representing the cemeteries, coming from the 12th to 16th century, which is very particular to this region. Now, what is interesting is that each of these, let's say the tomb, as you can see in the picture, is not that spectacular, but because they came together, it actually become a very strong case for the nomination. It comprises of 28 different cemetery areas. If one country tried to nominate one little cemetery area as a single nomination, I don't think it had ever succeeded because it was not spectacular enough. But because they combine 28 all together and make it as a one combined joint nomination, that became very, very convincing. Now, while this is excellent strategy, unfortunately, this trans-boundary serial nomination is not yet common in amongst the member states of UNESCO, showing that maybe the countries are still not ready to collaborate. It's not maybe in the mentalities to collaborate. We have about more than 1,000 World Heritage properties by 2021, and out of that, about only 3% are these trans-boundary multinational nominations. And actually, we have a very limited example from Asia. That is a pity. That means there's little collaboration between the Asian countries, right, on culture. Now, let's look into another convention, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention. For this Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention, this multinational nomination is very much encouraged because in case of intangible cultural heritage, like knowledge, it travels across the communities, and therefore many intangible cultural heritage are trans-border by consequence. They don't care about national borders because people used to travel. So actually, it's not very helpful if each government is clinging to, this is my culture, this is my national culture, when it comes to intangible cultural heritage. But once again, somehow this multinational nomination is not very popular. Out of about 400, nearly 500 elements that are already inscribed on the intangible cultural heritage list, about 11% or 55 elements are these multinational nominations. There are about 3 elements that are coming from Southeast Asian countries. One, give me the examples. Now, okay, here are some of the most spectacular multinational nominations. One is about the tradition of falconry or the hunting using the falcons. That actually involved the country from Europe to Arab up to Korea, and then there's also the example of the spring festivals of the Parsi people that again involves the whole of the Central Asia, which is like an excellent, strong nomination examples. Then I mentioned about a couple of examples of intangible cultural heritage that involve Southeast Asia. One is this recent nomination, which is called Onchong Wangkang ceremony, the ceremony around the sea. And that's a multinational nomination by Malaysia and China. Another interesting example of the tagging rituals or tug of war that involve the nominations between Cambodia, Philippines, Republic of Korea, and Vietnam. But overall, it is, unfortunately, it's still limited, and it's a kind of strange phenomena for me because in Southeast Asia, you keep saying that you are united within diversity, unity in diversity, but then I see the diversity, but not the unity part, not the collaborations, the networking. But all in all, UNESCO really encourages this networking, multinational nomination as an efficient strategy because it's a choice. It's a very efficient way of promoting small places under a larger thematic umbrella. It also is a very efficient process of cultural diplomacy and international collaboration. And what is important for UNESCO is it moves you away from a very nationalist approach of culture to a more something that embraces intercultural dialogue, which is very much in line with UNESCO's mandate to promote peace. And this kind of networking effort might be an opportunity from Indonesia to show the global leadership. Now, well, I hope these examples coming from other fields than the festivals actually inspire you to adopt the same approach in the domain of the festivals. So we're looking at these examples of the World Heritage Convention or Intangible Cultural Heritage Convention and the nomination scheme. Well, what does it mean in the context of Indonesia and the festivals? So one of my observations is that Indonesia, there are so many music, batik, or food festivals, big or small, and or successful or not so successful. And the question is, can they be packaged and promoted under one umbrella rather than having thousands of small batik festivals or thousands of small music festivals? Then, if you decide to network with other festivals, then what will be that unique storyline for the festivals? What will make that festival very unique and stand out from the rest? I'm asking this question because today we have many film festivals or jazz festivals. So doing another jazz festivals or another film festivals, networking with them, perhaps would not allow us to stand out or compete with the rest of the organizers. And the question is, okay, so then where do you find the source of ideas for this uniqueness? So obviously one suggestion is perhaps starting from the World Heritage Sites or one of the intangible cultural heritage elements in your country, because this is often unique elements that other regions don't. So it's one source of inspiration. And for your information, many of you attending here might be aware that Yogyakarta, the city of Yogyakarta, is applying for the World Heritage status. So that could be an interesting point of redesigning or repackaging your festivals. And of course, one important question to you here in Jogja is that since Yogyakarta has been such a successful festival platform, what can you offer to support other small festivals in Indonesia in need of visibility? Can you act as a catalyzer of a new network to support uplifting, those smaller festivals from some remote areas in Indonesia that badly needs promotional support? And in terms of the networking theme, just to finish off my presentation, and for your source of inspiration, I would like to share with you that, and you might be aware that history of spice route is a big umbrella topic nowadays for the government of Indonesia, and for its cultural diplomacy. The Minister of Culture of Indonesia is actually working on a serial World Heritage nomination within Indonesia. And but I think at the same time, this could be another interesting topic for you to elaborate, or repackage the new festivals. And for your, again, information, inspirations, historians have identified that the spice route was connected to some 40 countries across the globe. I listed here on the screen. It might be too tiny for you to see, but it actually goes across the whole of Pacific to Indian Oceans to the Arab Sea. So you actually using the spice route as a possible thematic topic, you have an opportunity to link up to some 40 countries. And then since I mentioned about the World Heritage Convention, what is interesting is that there are some of the sites that are already inscribed on the World Heritage List that are closely related to this history of the spice trade. And there are many others which are on the tentative list, meaning planning to become a World Heritage Site. That is also closely related to the World Heritage, to the history of the maritime trade or the spice route. So these are some of the ingredients actually you have that might actually allow you to repackage and make a new network with your partners to promote your festivals. So let me stop here, and I hope the examples from other domain of culture, intangible cultural heritage, World Heritage Site, actually inspires you to adopt a new way of promoting your festivals. Thank you very much, and sorry I may have exceeded my time, but thank you very much, Camelia, for letting me finish.
Thank you so much, Moe, for the presentation on networking and joint promotion, and sharing also the examples from you at UNESCO conventions and how countries and sites can come together in a nomination as a strategy for a stronger promotion. So perhaps this can actually inspire a lot of the festival organizers in the audience about the power of networking and convergence. So next up, we have from Thailand, Mrs. Montinee Yongvikul, the Director of Creative City Development for the Thailand Creative Economy Agency. Mrs. Yongvikul received a bachelor's degree in economics from Thammasat University and a master's degree in communication from Chulalongkorn University. She started her career as an economic journalist at Manager newspaper for 6 years, then joined the research team of SME Group before becoming the staff member of Chief Economic Policy Advisor to the Prime Minister in 2001. She's one of the founders of Thailand Creative and Design Center, TCDC, and currently the Policy and Development Director of TCDC, in charge of content management and international collaboration projects. So Mrs. Yongvikul, I'd like to give the screen back to you.
Good morning, everyone. Could you hear me? Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to join today. And I may start with my present. Could you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. Thank you again to inviting me to share our work today. It's about it's about the building the ecosystem, but I will focus about our upcoming big event that called the Bangkok Design Week. So let me start with the introduce my organization. We are the Creative Economy Agencies. We are the public organization under the Prime Minister Office. We have the mission to promote and driving the creative economy in Thailand. We are the 3 pillars. First pillar is creative industry or creative people. We provide the resource that you may, we provide the library with the creative and resource about book or database or anything to support them. And the second pillar is creative business. We have a program to promote SME to reach to the creative resource, like to match them with the creators or designer to let them develop the products and service. And the last pillar is the creative district. This pillar is we focus on we try to stimulate the economy in the local or in the district that we focus via the creative event and many tools that we try to revitalize the district. So the Design Week or the Design Festival is one of the tools that we use to revitalize the district. I think every Design Week or Design Festival have the same objective to stimulate the economies for the local and also to attract the visitor and also promote the creative industry as well as to branding the cities. But for the Bangkok Design Week, we have the similar objective, and also we think that our core value is about we act like the platform for the designer or creator to explore and show the idea about the new possibility to improve in terms of economics and quality of life in Bangkok. So that's why our core concept or core content, when we brief to the participant or conduct the content in our festival, we focus about city and living, well-being, and gastronomy that connect to the creative business, and then empower them to work together to uplifting the district. So this is a direct and indirect economic impact that we expected for, and we think it could be like the ecosystem to make the design week, and we use this kind of framework to work with another province like Chiang Mai and Khon Kaen as well. So the first one, of course, our Design Week is a platform to promote the Thailand creative industry. The young and the professional designer and creator could submit the project to us and then propose the new idea, and then we will try to show and then to express their thought via the exhibition or showcase. The second one is we provide the showcase space as well as for the creative business who submit to want to test the market or want to test for the user. We provide this kind of showcase space. And of course, we promote the collaboration because we focus on the revitalized district. So our festival should be like the platform, not only collaborate with the creative people, but also collaborate with the community, who own the venue that we set up the Bangkok Design Week. So the local people should get the benefit from this festival as well. And that's why we lead to the create snowball effect for the Bangkok economy. Once we set up the festival, not only the local business get the benefit from the traffic from the visitor who come to the district, but as well as we can collaborate with the many creative business around the area to create the job or even though the service like transportation that could create the snowball effects for the Bangkok economy. And also once we utilize the space in our district, we demonstrate the potential of our district. And after that, normally the Bangkok Design Week, we set up in between January to February for the rest of the year. Once we demonstrate how to utilize the venue in the district, there's an organizer or event promoter come to the district and use the district as the venue for the other festivals. So that's why along the year, they can have, our district can have the Bangkok Design Week as well as another program like Bangkok Biennale or Lighting West Festival. And the last one, we map Bangkok as a city of design. Bangkok Design Week is one of the program or events that we use to submit in the UNESCO Creative City Network, and Bangkok as the city of design city under the UNESCO's Creative City Network. So as I mentioned that the Design Week is a tool to stimulate the economics. So we summarize the economic value, media value, and visitors, and also the partner who participate in the Design Week since 2018 to 2021. And this one is like the program that I mentioned, that the creative people come to explore and show the idea as well as the creative business. We provide a venue. Our venue is not only in the exhibition hall, but our venue is spread in the building across the Chalernkung district. And this one, that I mentioned, that the people, the community should benefit from our festival as well. We have the project that we call the Made in Chalernkung. We provide the designer and creator to match with the legacy shop to develop their products, to make it more contemporary for the young generation. Or maybe we try to create the project that about the waste management, let the people in the community to understand about the waste management and induce the visitor to collaborate in terms of waste management as well. And we have the talk and workshop and creative market, as I mentioned. The young entrepreneur or creative business could come to sell and maybe to do the market tester here. And we have the event and program for the people who are not interested, who are not designer or in the creative fields, but they can come to enjoy the program like music, film, and also like the traditional dance and fashion show as well. This is a kind of Bangkok Design Week. Let me share with you about the Bangkok Design Week in 2021 that we faced the pandemic. So actually we have to set up the Bangkok Design Week in February, but the COVID situation has made us postpone to April, and then finally postponed to May. We still actually there's some opinion that why some question that why we cancel the festival, but we found that the work, the creative studio and entrepreneur has already invested more than 50% to make things done. So that's why we cannot cancel, and we don't want to let them to get the effect from the cancellation. So that's why we adjust our programs by go online and extend the date. Some program that could submit in online, like talk and workshop, we cancel the on-site space, on-site symposium, talk and workshop, and then we do it online instead of, and we extend the date. You may notice that from May to July, almost 3 months, because some venue we have to limit the audience or the visitors by pre-register or appointment only, so that if we still have like the Bangkok Design Week only 9 days as usual, is could not enough for the visitor to get to the to visit the Bangkok Design Week. So that's why we extend to, and this program we reschedule program to 8 to 16 and June and July, and every venue has to be pre-register or queuing or anything that should prevent from the pandemic. And this one we try to promote how to attend the Bangkok Design Week. And you may see in the screen that we have the crowd check. We developed the instrument that's called crowd check. Crowd check is like the sensor that we put in the venue, and then when you the visitor with the mobile phone, when you get inside, the sensor will detect that, and to show that if that venue have a crowd people, it will show in the red side. So once you want to visit that venue, you see this side in red. So it should be better to come back and wait until the green side and the rest is like everywhere that we have to clean it with the UV light every day. And this one is a summary of Bangkok Design Week that turned to be online, and as well online market. We cancel the market on site, and we collaborate with the platform like Pincoin to support the creative business and creative some small to sell the products via the platform online instead of on-site market. And this one is showcase and exhibition. That's all. And for this year, as I mentioned, that Bangkok Design Week is a platform for the creative people to come and think for the new possibility. So for the Bangkok Design Week 2022, we come up with the concept and the theme that we call COVID creation. Let the people from not only from the design or the creative, but I would love to invite the people from the science and technology to come to think together and find out some solution about the living and also the business under the COVID situation. So this is a kind of key activities. We still have showcase, market, events and program, talk and workshop, and also we have like the business connecting, both online and offline, and also like we would like to have something that to revitalize the district. Have the lighting festival and sound festival as well in the area. So everything we plan that 70% it would be online and 30% it should be on site. And this one we try to create the ecosystem from Chalerm Krung, Talat Noi in our area, and then we try to connect to another area like Ali Pradipat, Panakorn, and Thong Loi Kamai, and Samyan to create a small festival under the umbrella Bangkok Design Week in the same time. And this one is like the venue that we try to limit and try to control the space to according to the pandemic. And I think that's all. You can follow or find more information via our website, as I mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Montinee Yongvikul, for the presentation about Bangkok Design Week and how the festivals can actually revitalize the district with much direct but also indirect economic impact, including as well sharing some examples about how Bangkok Design Week was running during the pandemic time. Surely we'll have a lot to talk about when we have the Q&A session later. So next up is Julia Amour, who leads the membership body for Edinburgh's major festivals, Festivals Edinburgh. The collective development of organizations work on shared priorities around developing Edinburgh's global position as the world's leading festival city, the festival's engagement and impact, and the future innovation and investment. Key project areas include joint festival city marketing and environmental strategies, collective impact evaluation, international delegate program, and community engagement initiatives. Julia also previously worked for the British Council and the Scottish Development International. However, due to time differences, Julia's presentation is pre-recorded and we had recorded together last week. Hence, I would like to ask the help from the team at Jogja Festivals to play the presentation by Julia. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Amour and I am the Director of Festivals Edinburgh. Here in Edinburgh, which is known as the world's leading festival city. And I'm delighted to be with you here today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of our approaches around environmental sustainability with you. What I'm going to talk about over the next 15 minutes.
Excuse me, sorry, I think the sound is still on mute.
On climate action. And I'm going to come back to this image at the end of my presentation, but this is actually an art artwork that was put up as a kind of advertising billboard in Edinburgh in 2020, in the middle of COVID-19, when we weren't allowed to stage any events that would attract crowds. And it's an artwork that's about climate change. So I hope that we can return to that later. Next slide, please. This is a little representation of where we are in the world. And I apologize about the map on the top left-hand side of the screen, which is how the world looks to Britain. But of course, if we were in Indonesia, we would be a very small speck on the northwest corner of Europe. And that is where Scotland is. So it's quite remarkable that we've developed this kind of festivals culture over the past more than 70 years, which allows us to really communicate with and celebrate the world and have the world in our city. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how and why that started, and then move on to our environmental agenda. Next slide, please. So these are a few photographs of our city. We're a very naturally dramatic city on an ancient volcanic landscape. The rock formations that you see are obviously not really suitable for building on. So we have this fantastic feature of a mountain in the middle of our city. And we have two historic areas which are UNESCO heritage sites, which are called the Old Town and the New Town, a medieval core built along the spine of that ancient volcano, and a Georgian new town, which was built in the 18th century according to kind of neoclassical rational enlightenment principles. And that natural backdrop for our festival means that the city itself is a very important ingredient in us being a festival city, and that we transform the spaces through our festivals when we have our peak festival season, which happens in August every year. Next slide, please. So this is a little timeline of our Festival City foundations. And the first three festivals which founded our festival city came out of the chaos and destruction of the Second World War. And in 1947, a very visionary step was taken by some of our city leaders together with the British Council and a cultural impresario called Rudolf Bing, who was in fact a refugee from Austria who had been working with opera and orchestras there. And they selected Edinburgh as this place of natural drama, this place of congregation and international values, where they felt that establishing a cultural festival would help to bring people back together and heal some of those wounds of war. So we were delighted to embrace that spirit. And as you can see, fairly soon afterwards, other festivals joined the original International Festival because it was a very selective festival. But in the same year, 8 theatre companies who had not been invited to perform decided to come and perform anyway. And that was the basis of the Fringe Festival, which is now much bigger than the International Festival itself, and is an open access festival where anybody who has a story to tell and can find a space to tell it in can come and be part of that Edinburgh Festival's experience. Over the succeeding decades, many other art forms in the city looked at what festivals can achieve in terms of an explosion of energy and innovation and congregation, and really wanted that for their own parts of the art sector. So over the succeeding decades, many other art form festivals in literature, in music, in children's theatre, in oral storytelling, and also celebrations of other parts of human experience, like science and like winter festival tradition of our special kind of traditional festival of Hogmanay, which is New Year Festival, all came into being. And by the early 2000s, we had this cluster of 11 major festivals who wanted to gain an extra collaborative advantage from working together after all this time of developing independently. So if we move on to the next slide, please. That's when Festivals Edinburgh was created after a study, which you can see the link for on this slide, revealed that there were a number of agendas like joint marketing of the festival city, joint strategic planning of how we inhabit the city, joint partnership building, and joint challenges like the environment, like climate change, that the festivals would be better served to tackle together rather than tackling individually. So that's when Festivals Edinburgh was born. We are a small company, and the board of directors is the chief executives or artistic directors of each of those 11 festivals. And now if we could click forward one click, please. We have a stakeholder board, which is the Festivals Forum, which consists of our main funders and stakeholders in the city, which exists to advise us and take our input on what we think the future of the festival city requires in terms of development. And this is our plan that we've just revealed here. I appreciate you probably can't see this on your screens, but I hope the slides will be available to you in case you're interested to look further at this. All of the festivals are independent, but what we do is we provide a forum where they can come together and decide on what that shared agenda is, what those shared challenges are. And we work and then in that central column on these this set of priorities around advocacy for the kind of policy that's needed for our festivals to make the cultural, social, and economic contribution that we know we can. We work on skills and knowledge sharing so that each of our festivals, instead of having one opportunity to learn a new skill or to try something new each year, they have 11 opportunities because they can share that innovation with their peers. We work on marketing the festival city as an experience to markets that perhaps are less close to the individual festival segments of audiences. So audience development. We work with public and private sector partners on how we can bring in more investment to the festival city to tackle the kinds of issues that we need to develop in, including climate change. We hope to show leadership locally, nationally, and internationally, trying to push our practice further and learning from others and sharing with others. And we focus on the local engagement also, working out how this global phenomenon within our city can also provide opportunities to all of our citizens. So moving on from our model then, I think I'll say a little bit on the next slide about where we'd got to by 2019. I think thanks to those 7 decades of growth and then the final decade in collaboration, we had got to status of being very well known as the world's leading performing arts market. And you can see from this pie chart that we had quite a diverse audience base, although still relatively based in Edinburgh, Scotland and the UK. But in terms of the overall numbers, it's the same sort of scale as having a FIFA World Cup happening in your city every year. And it's second only in terms of those total attendances to the kinds of scale you would get if you were hosting an Olympic Games. And our industry dimension is very, very important as well, because we have over 2,000 industry delegates every year. And for them, it's an extremely efficient way of coming to a city which has a month-long program of cultural offers where they can program a lot of their venues or festivals themselves. So we're delighted that we are that meeting point, and we really try and celebrate that and make the most of it and host a wonderful experience for people. So if we move on to the next slide. Of course, all of that changed during 2020 because of COVID. The world's largest performing arts market didn't happen at all in its physical manifestation. We learned a huge amount, as I'm sure you and other colleagues will have done, about digital presentation of live work, and also about how we could facilitate partnership conversations through digital means. And then we're delighted to say that we were able to come back in 2021, although only at 10% of that former scale. And these are some photographs from 2021. And I think you can see that we really tried to make use of the open spaces and the very generous historic spaces of Edinburgh, rather than going back to some of the small spaces, perhaps in the back of bars and pubs, or in spaces, pop-up spaces that have just been repurposed for the festivals. We really had to think about what was the COVID safe thing to do and do a great deal in the great outdoors. And I'm sure you guys have had to face all those challenges as well. But what it did give us is it gave us a bit of a pause to experiment and a pause to think very deeply about what we need to do about some of the great challenges like climate change. So on the next slide, we start to talk specific about our carbon footprint. The festivals have been working together for about 10 years on climate issues. And we helped to found an organisation called Creative Carbon Scotland, which you may wish to look up for yourselves, which has now become the national resource for good practice and toolkits in environmental sustainability for the creative sector across our whole country. For ourselves, we have an environment officer based in my team in Festivals Edinburgh, and we've helped the festivals to understand their own carbon footprint and to understand what the common aspects of that are, and to come to shared commitments about how we're going to work to develop that. And you can see very quickly, obviously, that there's only part of your carbon footprint that you yourself control. And if we look at the top left-hand quadrant, these aspects of the directly organized staff and artist travel, of the heat and power and so on in our own buildings, and of our directly organized productions are actually quite a small aspect of what the Edinburgh festivals do, because a lot of the time we are a platform on which artists and artistic companies and promoters are showcasing their own work. So we're not controlling that. So we've had to think very carefully, how can we not only be doing the responsible thing for our own emissions, but how can we also actually be a force for good in terms of motivating others' change? So when artists are self-organizing their own travel, when audiences are making the choices about where to come and when to come and how long to come for. And also, of course, through the work, we very much want to be a platform for contemporary issues, and there is no bigger issue than climate change today. So we've been finding that we've been supporting more and more programming which is about the climate crisis. So this is how we started to analyze the different parts of our impact on the environment that we wanted to have a positive effect on. And if we move to the next slide, I can then show you the what we called a route map that we came up with together to hold each other to account, really, and help each other in making sure that we were on that journey to climate sustainability. Again, it's too small for you to be able to read as a slide, but it does exist on our website, and there should be in this slide deck a link to where you can find it, or I can certainly provide it to the organizers so you can do that. So what we sorted everybody's climate efforts into was what we're calling bronze, silver, and gold standards of practice. And really that maps onto what is it that you can control and manage, and what is it that you really implement. So under the gold standard, if people are working on, trying to incentivize audiences and artists to travel in different ways, which are carbon efficient ways, then that's, we think, leading practice. Whereas getting on top of your own power and waste solutions is very important, but relatively speaking easier for the festivals to manage, with the help of the city and all the partners who are working to decarbonize our cultural venues and our transport system and so on, and the electricity supply indeed. So this was a bit of a breakthrough moment for us as a collective, because it showed everybody what everybody else was planning on doing, and it also set us a bit of an ambition that festivals wanted to be doing something in that gold space, in that leading practice space, and not simply think that they were fulfilling all of their responsibilities by looking after their own emissions. And if we move to the next slide, then I think we will have an opportunity to see some of the things that the individual festivals were doing that they could learn from each other about. So in terms of that space of doing things differently and taking advantage of low carbon power where you can, obviously not many of our festivals have their own buildings, but where they do have their own buildings, they have gone to LED lighting and micro generation with solar panels and so on. If they don't have their own buildings, they've been looking at For example, moving away from paper programs, which is a huge issue for the Fringe, which has a program that is many centimeters thick. They're looking at strengthening sustainable procurement, so asking their suppliers to have the low energy policies that will mean that we are not indirectly responsible for higher emissions. And they're looking at redesigning productions so that the sets are reusable, so that they are not rebuilding them or destroying them at the end of every production, and then they might be sharing aspects of that. And digital comes into that as well, because they've been creating 3D models of some of their cultural spaces so that more of the production design can be done remotely rather than people having to be in situ. And then in terms of doing different things entirely, again, as I say, 2020 gave us the opportunity to really innovate around digital marketplace programs, showcasing programs for industry buying and selling of work, and also networking programs. The festivals are hoping to come back with some longer term opportunities so that artists might be able to do longer term residencies in the country rather than simply flying in and out for one engagement. And we're looking at working with partners to do more tour planning so that these journeys are a lot more rational, a lot more carbon efficient. And for those festivals that do a lot of international projects, again, we're working on those digital mechanisms and kind of training, systematizing training so that we can use more local staff and we're not having to fly so many of our own staff around the world. In the space of encouraging and incentivizing audiences, we're exploring some of the tools that are out there. There's a cryptocurrency called EcoCoin, which I don't know if people might have come across, which allows people to kind of earn points for sustainable actions, and then allows the businesses that are working with EcoCoin to offer rewards on the basis of people building up points. So you could be having free tickets or discounts on your food and drink and all of these sorts of things. And then in terms of motivating others to reduce their own carbon footprint through creative programs, I'll come back to that at the end slide, because that's where our artwork gives us an example. The next slide shows us some of the partners that we've been working with, and we very quickly, as I say, get beyond the limits of our own knowledge and of our own influence. So as well as setting up Creative Carbon Scotland, which I hope you will have a look at, we've been working with some of the academics in the Edinburgh Climate Change Institute who are doing leading edge work on how to manage and reduce energy efficiency in cultural buildings, both historic and new. We have contracted with a consultancy called Beyond Green to work with all of our 11 member festivals so that they are able to publish their carbon footprint baseline, which has been externally validated. So we have that credibility and that reputation. And also Beyond Green will then compare the actions that each individual festival is planning on taking and provide a diagnostic report as to whether those actions really will bring them to the level that we need to get to by 2030, which for Edinburgh, we've set ourselves a target of being net zero carbon by 2030. And that doesn't just mean offsetting a huge amount of carbon. That means for those activities that can substantially get down to zero, we want to get them down to zero. We worked with a Scottish public body, Zero Waste Scotland, on the idea of a reusable cup scheme, which may seem like quite a basic idea, but when you have a city scale festival and you would have to involve all sorts of different partners in making that work at venues across your city, then we think that's something that could be quite transformative in terms of helping get a lot more people on the same agenda of making sure that we can truly be a very resource efficient city. And then finally, the photograph in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide is used in outdoor venues in 2020, which was powered by hydrogen created from splitting water on one of our islands in the very remote western part of the Scottish Islands in Harris. And that had been set up as a pilot to see if we could use our own renewable energy powered from our own natural resources to power some of our biggest events which go global. So it was a small pilot, but that generator is now being used at the COP26 climate conference taking place in Glasgow, about 45 miles from here. So we very much hope that that will be a little inkling of what we might be able to do at scale in the future. And so turning to my final slide then, I said I would come back to this artwork. And I think this is a great example of how we can use our cultural offerings and our cultural curation to help people think about climate change. I don't know if you can see that the fifth, I should say, column from the right, there is no bar there at all. And that's because this artist, Ellie Harrison, was funded in 2016 to take no journeys outside of her home city of Glasgow whatsoever, and to get around only on bicycle, and to have effectively zero carbon footprint. And this was a very controversial thing at the time, that she was being funded by our Creative Scotland Arts Council agency to make this as a work of art. But the publicity, in fact, that generated, the public debate that generated about what does it mean to live a low carbon life, and who has the choice to live a low carbon life as an artistic act, and who doesn't have that choice at all, I think proves the point really that art can be very powerful, and that culture is going to be a really, really important part of us all making the commitment to change our lives and help to stabilize and save our planet. So that is an example of how Edinburgh's festivals are going about working together to take positive steps on climate action. I hope it's been useful. It can only be a starting point, obviously, but if there are questions from the conference that people would like to address further to Festivals Edinburgh, please do let me know, and have a great rest of your conference. Thank you. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation today. It's only a start. We are figuring it out like everybody else, but we're delighted to share that with you, and we hope that there'll be opportunities to learn from what everyone is doing at the conference as well. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your time together.
Apologies, I think I might have lost my connection there. So I'd like to once again introduce Mbak Felincia Hutabarat, who is a co-founder of Jogja Festivals and the managing director of Kekini, a space created to support the social arts and culture movement. Previously, she also worked for HIFO's regional office and worked as a creative economy consultant for the British Council, and also partook in the writing of the National Midterm Development Plan for the film sector in 2014 to 2019. She also co-founded the Indonesian Creative Cities Network and Peretas, and is a member of the Indonesian Coalition of the Arts. Mbak Ellen will be presenting the results of the festival landscape in Southeast Asia's research conducted by Jogja Festivals Studies Center, which was also supported by British Council's Connections Through Culture program. Mbak Ellen, the screen is now yours.
Thank you very much, Cami. I'm just gonna share my screen directly. And okay, so for those of you who have been following us for a while, this research has been shared before. The preliminary findings have been shared before a couple of months ago. But today we're going to specifically talk about how important it is to build a network among the festivals in Southeast Asia. Okay, this is, so as Cami has mentioned, the British Council together with the Jogja Festivals Studies Center joined forces to study the landscape and key players of festivals in Yogyakarta and Indonesia and other countries in Southeast Asia. Particularly, we're looking at the countries in the Southeast Asian region under the ASEAN nations, because Indonesia, it's due to the activity or the key role that the Indonesian government played in initiating the ASEAN Working Group of Creative Economy, the World Conference on Creative Economy, and the fact that there are many international festivals happening in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia. And in this research, Jogja Festivals is working with Tom Fleming Consultancy from the UK, which has conducted similar studies in other countries in Southeast Asia. Since this is the first effort of Jogja Festival Study Center to do such research, That's why we feel that we need to have to work together with another organization that have expertise on this. So we did this research in 6 countries. Apologies for my flag because the the lighting is not so good, so that it looks like apa namanya, the video it's not really well. There's like some shadows on my face. So yeah, the study is conducted in 6 countries with 167 festivals responded to the study, which is actually quite amazing. I mean, 167 is not really near enough representing the amount of the real festivals that are there in Southeast Asia. In the beginning, we also aimed for Myanmar to join the study, but because of the political insurgence, so it was actually impossible to do the study there. But this also goes to show that there are a lot of factors that play in a role when talking about the festivals. Regardless of the different geography and different countries, we found that the majority of the festivals have been there for at least 6 years. So around 59% have been doing their festival for more than 6 years, and half of this have been doing their festivals for more than 10 years. This is actually a very interesting finding because a lot of the festivals that also responded to the survey are the festivals that are initiated by the community itself or by a group of artists, so not necessarily by the government. A lot of the festivals are free events, so there's 41%, and the local audience that attended, it was like 80% of the attendance is from the local citizens, and the other comes from other countries, from other cities. These are just like the specs that companies. And we can see that less than 20% of government funding is received by 30% of the festivals, but there are 27% of the respondents that receive more than 80% of government funding. But zooming in at those festivals, we can directly see that most of the festivals that receive more than 80% of government funding are the festivals that are initiated by the government or that are in line with the government program at that time. So here are the look of the things that are conducted by the festivals in Southeast Asia. You can see there are at least 12 genres, there are 12 sectors that becoming the basis of the festivals, and each of these 12 sectors, they have normally every year they have their own theme. This is responding to what Moe was saying, because there are so many like visual arts, for example, festivals or film festival, what could differentiate them with one another? So it's actually, again, it's very important to have this kind of forum, so then the festivals could share and then could share not just their experiences, their knowledge, but also the way to move forward together, not just like as one festival, but one festival that connects to other festivals in Southeast Asia. These are the main findings of the festival focus. So surprisingly, a lot of the festival, even though it's initiated as a space to provide cultural expressions, artistic expressions, in the past years we have moved into the aim is moved to grow the creative economy because they realize there is a lot of the festivals are facing classical problems, which is financial independence. So this notion to grow the creative economy, it's seen also as a part of the way out for the festival to be more financially independent. The second one is to grow cultural capacity, because there's a lot of skills that is involved when doing a festival, and the festival become a very good ground for younger generation to learn the ropes of whatever sector that they are interested in from those who are more experienced who comes before them. The third one is to build local pride. So as you can see, a lot of festivals in arts and culture festivals in Southeast Asia, even though it's a film festival or is it a dance festival, a lot of them are actually coming from the thematic local theme. So these festival is used as a platform to also promote the local values. The other one is to grow and enhance tourism and provide employment. Here we go to the part of the festival network. The festival itself in Southeast Asia has been around for more than 2 decades. At least we know, for example, for the case of Jogja Festival, it's been there since 2010. In the case of Yogyakarta, we have Ngayogjas. I think that's been around since even early 2000. This goes to show that there are a lot of commitment that is being put by the festival organizers. And as it grows, a lot of these festivals, particularly like older festivals, they build a network among them, because many of the festival participants, in particular the artists or the presenters, they're coming not only from the local, but also coming from other cities. And in the cases of a lot of international festivals in Jogja, for example, they come also from other countries, not only in Southeast Asia, but also from Europe and from the US. And we're looking at these festivals and the relation to the creative economy, because we do realize that the creative economy has been the buzzword for the past, at least the past 10 years, yeah, in Southeast Asia. A lot of countries, for example, like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and the Philippines have emerged and have created local policies to support the creative economy growth in their countries, because it seems as a promising economy. But on the other hand, we also see that there is still a gap between the creative economy policy made by the government and what is actually done by the festival practitioners on the field. Sometimes they're not really go hand in hand together. So that's why this kind of forum is very important to actually bridge the conversations between different stakeholders. A lot of the festivals who join the network, many of them join the network not necessarily because a lot of times because they happen to meet somewhere or being, so it's very organically built. It's organically happening. And they found that the benefits of joining the network is to expand their own network. In this case, they can exchange between artists, for example, and creative professionals. They can exchange programs. They can also collaborate on programs. Sometimes it happens where similar festival, they synchronize their time, so then they can invite one person, and then that person can do a tour around Southeast Asia. So then it will be cheaper, because then the cost will be more together. They have access to international community of practitioners, a lot of knowledge, availability of industry information and exchange, access to creative talents, and wider audience reach. Actually, what we haven't really, we have touched during the survey, but it remains to be seen. But there is an opportunity because of the pandemic. The festivals are now becoming hybrid, offline and online, mostly online for the past 2 years because of the severity of the pandemic. But the online, the virtual sessions actually allows the possibility to reach out to more artists and to reach out to more audience. So maybe just responding to what previous presenters have been presenting, maybe it's time to actually explore the possibilities to have a cross audience for the festivals in Southeast Asia. Surprisingly, the important stakeholders for the festivals are these four, the main important stakeholders. So artists and creative professionals, media and critics, local community leaders, and universities. This goes to show actually that the festivals is really built because of initiative of the organizers, and not necessarily because there is an opportunity to gain projects from the government. As you can see, the government doesn't even make it to the top 4. And a lot of times here, for example, in Indonesia, there's still like a lot of artistic differences, but not just artistic differences, but also vision differences, you know, where sometimes the government want to just have the festivals as a part of the tourism. So then they have their own picture on how a festival must be done. Well, actually for the festival organizers, especially those coming from the cultural communities, they really want to have the festivals as a platform to express, you know, whatever it is that they feel is important to be discussed in the society, to have a place to perform new talents and also new creations. So again, it's very important to continue having forums like this one held by the Jogja Festivals to build that kind of discussions between different multi-stakeholders. The last is I have two kind of findings from both the case studies that we did and also from the survey that we did. So this is like a model that we tried to make based on the findings. So we have these four paths, which is the domains, the functions of the festivals, the sphere, and then the outcome. Let me just try to. So the first one is the domains. We found that a lot of the festivals are actually working on these three domains: the arts, culture, and design. And then the second one is the function of the festival. So they have cultural nurturing, knowledge nurturing, showcasing, networking, and public education. So networking is still a very important part of the festival function. And the sphere, so the festival is working in these four spheres: public, other stakeholders, including government, corporates, yeah, private sectors, businesses, the corporate sector is in the business, and then the artists. So the festival, if you can see the arrows, actually play that role in connecting these different spheres. This is what's happening during the festival. And the last one, the outcome of this initiative to connect all these different spheres with this function of the festival can build an outcome of, they can create visits, which is important for a lot of the governments to enhance tourism, audiences, which is also important when we talk about like the economic impact or what has been described, for example, in Thailand as snowballing economic impact, or what has also been counted in Edinburgh, but the economic impact to the city when there are more audiences coming to the festivals. Production of many things, not just the festival itself, not just the work, but also the production of different activities that are coming or that are showcasing during the festivals. There are transactions for sure, employment, this is also very important, and also policy change. And this happened all during festivals. The last one, the last slide, is the paths that describe how festival goes from festivals as a celebration to the creative economy. We can see the function, we narrowed down to 7 functions, but of course this function can grow because these are just the ones that we found from the research. The knowledge nurturing, showcasing, market provision, art progress, network, cultural nurturing, and other functions that comes within the activities. And the achievement, you have the recognition of the festivals, you have the recognition from people, for work, for the artists, for the issue. You have growth, you have audience, growth of the festival, it becomes bigger, it reaches wider audience. The audience, the audience become bigger as well. Participation, there are more people participating in the festivals and other achievements. And the impact is this, at least 8 is only again what we find. But of course, this can still grow depending the cases later that we find maybe on further studies in the future. You have visits, you have productions, transactions, you have market that is created, you have employment, you have social change, you have needs fulfillment, and then you have financial fulfillment. So if you see these arrows just work as an illustration that how the function can bring to the can lead to these impacts that you see on the right side. We hope that with this model, every festival can use it and to see, which functions that they serve, which achievements that they are now have, and then which kind of impact that they have been having all these times, because we realize even during, this is why actually Jogja Festivals were initiated in the beginning, in the first place, because we realized that these important data are not there unless we look at it. That's why we're very much inspired by the festivals Edinburgh, and at that time, the marketing director came and then shared with us the why they created the festival of Edinburgh, in particular to be able to evaluate the festivals, because we know the intrinsic effect or impact of the festivals. We've seen it, and we've seen also the extrinsic part, but without data, it's impossible to actually it's nearly impossible to create an argument, a sound argument for the government to create a policy that supports the festival, because it's like it's a two-way street, you know. It cannot be just the festival saying we are important without being able to show the data that is needed by the government, but also the government cannot just say like, you know, they have other priorities. Well, actually, if they look closer, they can really see maybe their priorities have been fulfilled by the festivals. I guess that's that, Cami. Hopefully, okay, this is the final one. This is the recommendation. Because of the because of the study, we see that a lot of festivals wanted to have a business development growth, because there is an increasing of realization that the importance of financial stability, and they want to be less independent towards the government or donors, and then they want to have an effective management and governance. This is also related to the business. Strategic partnership, of course, to make a better or more quality festival. And yeah, the last one is financial sustainability. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer.
All right, thank you very much, Felincia, for the presentation. And I know the team has been working really hard in collecting the various data and surveys during what was a very challenging time during the pandemic that we had experienced in Indonesia earlier this year. So we're really looking forward to be able to share the final results of the research to the rest of the community very soon. And now I think we can now move on to the Q&A part of the session. There is actually really a lot to unpack from the various presentations today. However, I see that actually some questions have already been answered directly in the chat. And in the interest of time, I think because we have kind of gone overboard with the timing, I would actually like to pose one last question to the remaining speakers that perhaps you can answer directly. So I wanted to ask maybe to Moe, to Montinee, and also to Felincia, how can festival organizers work better with their local governments or stakeholders to ensure that there is continuous support for festivals? And I think this is a very important question that many of the festival organizers in the audience might want to know about. Maybe we can start with Moe, if you have an answer ready.
Yes, thank you very much, Camelia, for this important question. My answer to this is that the festival organizer has to make an effort to demonstrate the impact of the festival they're organizing. And here comes the question of cultural statistics, which I know this is the Asian countries usually are not very good at. They have very typically a critical lack of, statistics related to the cultural activities, especially its impact. It's not about the numbers of the festivals you organize, but what impact is generated. That kind of an analytical statistic is often missing. Well, some of the countries, the European countries is where you find these cultural statistics, quite commonly. They have a very sophisticated methodologies of, collecting statistics that they update annually. Why they have to do this? Because they have to demonstrate to the Ministry of Finance that their cultural assets actually are generating impact socially, economically, and therefore to kind of make sure that they get the next year's budget, and that's why they really put a lot of effort in collecting that statistic and also sophisticating the methodology of demonstrating the impact. Now, are we doing that in Asia, generally speaking? Not exactly. I think there are economic studies done by some professors for some sample, economic impact of some of the festivals, but it's not the general practice of the festival organizers. That's additional burden on top of doing the actual logistic of the festival, but it's very much necessary. And so this is one area. I think, for instance, UNESCO and British Council work together with some festival organizers to come up with that data demonstration. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Moe. That's a really good suggestion about impact, and I think it's quite important. Maybe we can continue on with Montinee. Is there anything that you might want to add in terms of how can festival organizers seek continuous support from government and other stakeholders?
Yes, we have like two levels of government support. In the first level is central governments that we ask for the annual budget, and then, as Moe mentioned, the statistics is very important. So that's why we provide allocate budget for the evaluator. We hire the third party to evaluate our festival in terms of economic impacts that I shown you in the PowerPoint presentation, that we get the economic impact in terms of money, return or economic value. And another one is the social impact, like we create a focus group, and then like the social listening, that how the community react to the festival, and then we propose them to the central government. And then another support that we seek for is a local government is like the municipal level, that we have to ask them to support us as the like Bangkok administration, right? Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, that we have to ask for like the permission to do something on the street, on the footpaths, or some public space, that we try to express to people how creativity can improve like the crossroad, or even how to reduce the road accident or something, that we try to do it. We have to seek for the permission from or support from the local government as well. So both of statistic and the outcome that we survey, it should be like present to them directly. Yes, that's my question. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Montinee, for adding that. And yes, I do agree that's kind of equally important to have not only the statistics, but also the outputs of the festival itself. But Felincia, how about you? Especially since maybe you're the holder of all the data on impact of the festivals right now with the recent research. Is there anything you can share about this?
Yeah, at the moment, what we have is just a glimpse, actually, because yeah, it is Southeast Asia. It's a big country, and there are like so many festivals. So we do have a glimpse of what festivals landscape look like in Southeast Asia. But what we find that a more detailed study, for example, we didn't do the economic impact. It still needs to be done. And as you can see, from 167 of all of our respondents, most of them are very professional in what they're doing in the cultural spheres, in the cultural practices, but not necessarily if you want to go to the commercial side, because this is like what is being done very good by the commercial sector, having the tools and the kits to do this kind of evaluation. So I think it's very important for us to still get support in a way, for example, because UNESCO and the British Council, for example, you have like good relations also with the government. I see that this is also can be a long-term partnership for us, hand in hand explaining to our government while we're actually also doing our part, trying to collect the data. And the other thing, for example, because what has been done by Thailand is pretty advanced for our case, having all that economic impact and then like the social impact study already done. for building their case. That can also be used actually as a like an exchange of knowledge, but also like a collaborative project for that research to be done maybe in Jogja first, because yeah, like Jogja Festivals have already started with this. And then if we can have that kind of tools, this toolkit can be used by other cities as well, by other festivals. This is what we don't have, and we hope that, you know, by having this studies, they start to have that tools. But we know that festivals Edinburgh already have that, and we just heard that Thailand already has that as well. So if we can combine all the resources, we don't have to start from zero, but we can just modify so then we can use it according to our own context.
Right. Thank you very much, Felincia, for the answer as well. So I think we're nearing to the end of this session, and it has really been a remarkable session so far. I've gathered so much new insights into the development of the festival sector and why festivals are so significant to the creative economy and the wider city development as well. So I'd just like to summarize some key points from the various presentations. In Moe's presentation, we highlighted the importance of networking and joint promotion, bringing up some examples from 2 UN conventions and how countries worldwide have been using different methods for joint nominations to actually come together as a joint promotion. So there's a lot of really great examples from, for instance, multinational nominations in Europe, but unfortunately there's actually quite little examples from Asian countries coming together to do a joint nomination. So for instance, even in Indonesia, you know, we have many festivals, but how can we actually look at not just working one by one or in silos, but how they can be packaged and promoted under one umbrella, and having and shaping a network of festivals and having a kind of unique proposition to that network. From Montinee's presentation, we can also see that there's many direct and as well as indirect benefits from holding a festival like the Bangkok Design Week, which can also not only revitalize the city district, but also show economic impacts that can provide to the city and to the community. From Julia's presentation, we can also see about how festivals can start considering or reducing their carbon emissions. And this is actually a very, very important, I think, area that festivals should start kind of looking into, especially with the current climate agenda. And lastly, from Felincia's presentation, we find that data taken and mapped from the previous research shows that there is an importance of networking and joint promotion. And often it's not just about networking with each other or within the festival network, but also with other stakeholders in the sector. And lastly, with the question that we originally posed about how can festivals work together with governments or other stakeholders to ensure that there is continuous support for the festivals, I think the panelists today have all shared that, you know, it's all about showing the impact. And it's not just about the data or statistics of those impacts, but also showing the tangible outputs of the festivals to ensure that there is going to be a continuous support from governments and other stakeholders. Currently, the research that the British Council is doing with Jogja Festivals Research Studies Center has a bit of a glimpse into these data. However, it also shows that actually what we currently have is still lacking, and perhaps we can continue looking into maybe developing some kind of tool to measure the impact better for festivals. And it's great to hear that other festival partners like the Festivals Edinburgh organization, as well as Creative Economy Agency Thailand, actually already have these tools. So perhaps we can look at how we can share the same resources or develop the same tools that then can be applied or implemented, not just in Indonesia, but across Southeast Asia. So that is what I can summarize from today's session, but I hope that the conversations don't just stop here, but it can also continue, especially since the Jogja Festivals Forum and Expo event will continue for the next few days. And I hope that this will help gather many insights into the significance of the festival sector for the local economies and how festivals in Southeast Asia can also come together to promote and also push for more strategic policies and decision-making. With this in mind and coming together as a Southeast Asia region, I'd also like to bring up an opportunity that actually the British Council is organizing next week called Partner Southeast Asia, which is a 4-day event to share insights and knowledge about the Southeast Asia arts and culture sector and identify areas for future collaborations between UK and Southeast Asia. I think the details about the event itself has been shared by my colleague Dandira in the chat. Once again, I'd like to thank all of the panelists who have taken time out of what must be their really busy schedule to be with us today. Mrs. Moe Chiba, Montinee Yongvikul, Julia Amour, and also Felincia Hutabarat, who all have shared their experiences and knowledge about the festival sector. We hope this has been an insightful and useful session for all of you. And thank you so much for engaging with us for the past 2 hours. We hope to see you again soon, either in person or maybe still online. But until we meet again, and thank you so much to Jogja Festivals for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Camelia Harahap. What a fruitful discussion that we just have already. And we also would like to express our gratitude to all speakers that share the insights with all of us, especially about a festival ecosystem and also destination. Well, this is the end of Symposium 1, and the next one will be held in 4 p.m., expressing and discussing about diplomacy through festival. We also would like to remind you that tomorrow we will follow Symposium 3, discussing about ecosystem and market festival at 10 a.m. There would be also Talk Show 1 virtual reality at 1 p.m., Talk Show 2 Indonesian Festival Landscape at 4 p.m. And for further information, please check on www.jogjafestforumexpo.com and also in Instagram at Jogja Festivals. And again, we would like to remind you that in 4 p.m., we will have to follow Symposium 2, entitled about diplomacy through festival. See you in the next 30 minutes. Thank you.